What is up? It's your boy A-Rock back in the 2x4 tent. Today is day number 48 for these girls. Yep, and today is watering, feeding, and trimming day. Yep. Let's get her open. Man, it's already starting to smell good. But as you can see, the girls got a little bit yellow on me because I didn't feed them in time. So we're going to trim off some of the nasty yellow stuff that's burned up. And then we're going to water and we're going to feed today. These girls actually amazingly have went, I believe it's 8 days now without watering. I've never had plants go this far without watering. Now, of course, this one's got a little bit of droop because it is watering day and it's nighttime. So, of course, they're not going to look perfect. But this one over here is just a praying up here at the top near that light. Yep. All right, let's see. Make sure that my shot's where she should be. Yep, you guys can see what's going on. All righty. Now, I'll go ahead and get down here and I'll do the trimming first. Yep. I need to get in here. And I like to use my trimmers nice and sharp and nice and clean. And I like to trim at the stem base when I go to trim. And I start with the back side of the plant first and work my way forward. That way I'm not missing anything. And I'm making sure that I'm getting everything that I need to. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to come off. Don't worry though, it might look drastic, but these plants will be just fine because they still have all their healthy leaves around their bud nodes. Yep. So they might look a little worse for the wear right now, but like what happened with my other trimming, they'll come back and they'll bounce right back and be just as healthy, if not more healthy, when they're done. Yep. Trying to get in here and get all this out. It's a little tougher getting this one because it's tied down and it's hard to get back to the ones that you're trying to clip. Without, of course, going too far and clipping something you don't want to. Yeah. But yeah, I figured I'd make this little longer form video showing you guys trimming the plants, getting the old yucky yellow stuff off. Let's see here. Turn her just a little bit so I can see better. I remember which way she goes, so I'm not that worried about it. Alrighty now. Some of these yellow leaves we can leave in here because they're not too bad. Now all the ones that are crispy or really, really yellow, you want to make sure you get them all out. Yep. Yep, and don't be afraid to move around inside your plants. You're not going to hurt them. Yep, especially if they're good and strong like these ones are. These are actually really strong plants. Yep. Alright, I'll turn that one back the way it needs to go. Just like that. That one back where it goes. Yep, perfect. Alright, now we'll get the middle one trimmed up. All right. Now the middle one was just leaf tucking, so this one actually needs a trimming anyway. Yep. So this one I'm not sweating too much at all, getting all this stuff off the bottom. Yep, she was actually due for a trimming anyway, just because. So, this little trimming that we're giving her today is actually going to be nice and healthy for her. And yep, wait until you see the way these plants bounce back after this trimming that I'm giving them this time. Yep, they're doing awesome. Like I said, we won't take the leaves that are not too yellow, because some of these leaves might bounce back after our amendment. Yep. Of course, a lot of these leaves that are just yellow, though, it's just time to get rid of them. Alrighty. I think that's about all I want to take off of her for right now. Yep, so I'll get her back in order. It was just like this. Just like that. Yep, hell yeah. Alrighty. Now we'll get this last one over here. This one over here is doing really good. Yep. Yep, I love doing these plants. It's a little bit frustrating sometimes because it can be burdensome, you know, having a couple extra babies to take care of, but other than that, it's really, really rewarding. I encourage anybody that's getting into this hobby to do your best to try and stay in it, because the rewards that you'll get from it are definitely worth what you put into it. Yep. We almost got her done. We'll take some of these upper leaves up here that are crispy. And they're getting all crisped up. I might need to raise my light just a little bit more. I'll have to undo it from the ratchet rope it's on, though, in order to do that, because this side over here, the light is up as high as it'll go with the ratchet rope set the way it is. So, like I said, I'll have to take that light and take the ratchet rope off of it. Alrighty, I think I'm almost done trimming them up here. Yep, that looks about good to me right now. Now let's see if I can remember how in the hell this plant went in here. Yep, I totally let myself get all disoriented and discombobulated. I know these two are in there the way that they should be. I know they're oriented right. I know the middle one's oriented right. Now this one, right here, is right. There we go, hell yeah. Alrighty, we'll get these leaves out of here, get them in the trash. Alrighty, yeah, they're looking way better than what they were. Alright. We'll get our bucket here. We'll get our bucket with our water. We'll get our spray bottle ready. We'll get our watering can ready. And then now it's time to get ready for amendments. So I like to get my fork, and I like to get my tablespoon. Alrighty, got my 284, my tablespoon and my fork. Now I just need my worm castings. Alrighty, now I'll show you guys how I do these amendments. What I like to do is once the plants get to this point, the soil likes to get hard on the top. So what I like to do is before I go to put the amendment down or water, I like to take the pot and take a fork and break up the top layer of the soil really well to where the whole top 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch is all broken up really nice and loamy again. Yep, and then once that's done, which I'll do all 3 of these at once, that way I can do this in the process here. Yep, and we'll get all this soil broke up. And one of the main reasons I'm using a fork to do this is just because it's easier. You don't get your fingers as nasty. You don't get dirt all underneath your nails and stuff. And you don't have to worry about using a pair of gloves or worrying about where your gloves are all the time or anything like that. Plus, honestly, I think the tangs of the fork actually work better in breaking up the top of the soil into smaller clumps. Yep. Alrighty, now that's all broke up. We'll take our tablespoon, and now these are 3-gallon pots. So we're going to go 3 good-sized tablespoons of worm castings apiece. I'm doing a light amendment. Even though I went a little too long without feeding them, I don't want to overfeed them now and then burn the crap out of them. You know what I mean? Huh, we actually have a little sprout coming up in this pot right here. No way. Yep, that happens every now and then. Have random things just pop up in your pots. And I try and break up the bigger clumps of the worm castings, and I try and use the more fine powdery stuff because it definitely goes in better and it amends better because then it soaks in better through the top of the soil. Yep, alrighty. There's 3 tablespoons apiece of the worm castings. Now we'll do 3 tablespoons apiece of the Gaia Green 284. Yep. Now that's all I use. I don't use the 444 because I'm using the worm castings. The only time I use the 444 is when I'm running photo periods. And when I'm running the photo periods, their first veg amendment, I'll give them the 444. But autoflowers, I just like to give them the little bit of worm castings and the little bit of a bloom amendment. Yep, and I will tell you one thing though, if you're running organics and you like running this Gaia Green and you're indoors, just make sure you got you a good exhaust filter. A charcoal filter for your exhaust, because this Gaia Green does stink. Yeah, it does. This Gaia Green does smell. So, you just have to keep that in mind. But these are great amendments. One of my favorite YouTubers, Mr. Canucks Grow, he is a exclusive Gaia Green kind of guy. Yep, alrighty. And now remember, the amendment for the 284 when you're going to do a bloom amendment is only 1 tablespoon per gallon. So if it's a 3-gallon pot, only 3 tablespoons of the amendment. Me, I was making the bad mistake my first 2 or 3 grows where I was using 3 tablespoons per gallon instead of 1, and I was overfeeding my plants and burning the crap out of them. I'm so glad that I don't do that anymore. But yeah, other than that, like I was saying, what I did with this grow was they got a little bit of the nitrogen tips at the beginning because I used a little bit of worm castings in with the Scott soil, and I guess apparently the Gorilla Z Autos don't need that much nitrogen. So they got a little bit of the nitrogen tips, but then I got to the point where I had to go a long time without watering them and I wasn't able to amend them in time. So, me not being able to amend them in time, they got a little bit yellowed out on me. That's why I had to get rid of a lot of the leaves today. Yep. But as you see, after I get my amendments down, I just lightly stir them in with the tings of the fork. And then once I get them all stirred in, I'll spray them down with my spray bottle. That way they're not hydrophobic and they'll accept the water that I'm going to give them. Yep, because I'm going to give them a full watering today. All right. Okie dokie. Now, when I go to water, like I was saying, I like to use my spray bottle and I like to spray down the top of the pot really well. Because what that does is it stops the soil from being what's called hydrophobic. What hydrophobic means is it wants to push the water away instead of accept it in. But by lightly spraying down the soil like this, the smaller particles of water hitting the soil soak in better and start the hydro I don't know how you would pronounce that, but anyway, starts the process of the water going into the soil. Alrighty. Now, when I go to water, I like to water 2 liters at a time. I like to water 2 liters in each pot and then come back with what's left over and equally water each with what's left over. And people ask me, Aaron, why do you use such a small watering can? And the reason is because it helps you take your time watering your plant. You shouldn't just dump your water in because it doesn't dissipate well inside the pot, and you can unevenly water your plant or not water it properly by dumping the water in too fast. Yep. See, like right now, I already have a little bit of runoff coming out because one of the sides of the pot is a little bit farther away from the soil than what it should be. Mm-hmm. Actually, today, I think I'll do 1 liter at a time. That way they have time to soak in. Because, yeah, they're really hydrophobic. This one's just wanting to spit water right out. All right. That's all right, though. I can keep track of what I'm doing here pretty easy. Yep, just give each girl a turn. Yep, I'm sitting here trying to think of more tips and tricks as I go here. But for some reason, my mind's going blank. I'm just trying to concentrate on getting this done for girls right now. Yep, I neglected them the last couple of days. Yep. Oh, yeah, see, this one's got runoff coming out already, too. So, yeah, they're going to be pretty hydrophobic. That means we're going to water them through and then let the water that's run off into the pan soak back into the pot, because it will. Plus, it'll help with keeping humidity up and stuff like that, so. Yep. Alrighty. So now we'll get a leader in this last one over here on the right. And then we'll circle back around. Yep, when you go to do your amendments, you always want to make sure that your plants are completely dry. That way you can do a good all the way through watering when you go to amend them. But yeah, one thing that I was talking about is these plants actually went 8 whole days this time without needing watering. And what I like to do, and the reason that I do that sometimes is because during flowering, they have their own watering schedule specifically just for flowering. And what that means is once they get good and into flower like this, what you want to do is you want to water them all the way through. I mean, all the way through. And I've learned that for these 3-gallon pots, watering them all the way through is about 2.5 liters of water. Okay? But the reason that I do that is because that way I can find out what the flowering watering schedule is. Meaning, I water them all the way through and then I let them go until they just start to droop a little bit. That way you know when your watering schedule is, because when they start to droop, you'll subtract a day, and that day before will be the day that you water. So say, for instance, you go 7 days without needing watering, you can go 6 days and then water, and you'll be perfectly fine. Yep. The whole watering schedule for flowering thing I actually learned from somebody that's in the scene, if you know what I'm saying. You know, the 420 scene. Yep, they're watering through pretty good. All right. Now one for the middle and one more for the end. Yeah, sorry to leave big quiet spots in this video sometime. Like I said, I'm just trying to concentrate on what I'm doing. That way I don't lose track and mess something up. Plus, like I said, my watering process, I like my watering process to be nice and slow. Cool. Alrighty. This last one over here to the right can get this leader. And then I will go ahead and spread out the last little bit between the three, and they'll be almost done. And now, yeah, like I said, don't even worry about the water that's running off into these pans. because the water that's running off into these pans will get absorbed right back into the pots within the next 12 hours. Yeah. Alrighty, let's take this last liter and spread it between the three. Another thing that I really like about my watering can is that it's got marks on it that tell you exactly how many milliliters there are. So, if you need to measure out 300 milliliters for this plant, 300 milliliters for that plant, 300 milliliters for that plant, you can do it just by looking at the side of your can. Alrighty. That looks about good to me. I think we only got maybe another couple of leaves to take off. Yeah, maybe just a couple more. I'll take that one off just because. Take that one off just because. Yep. Yeah, I think she's about good. I think the girls are just about good. Yep, didn't make them too drastic, didn't do too much damage. Looks like they got the attention that they needed tonight. Yep. I'm so glad that I got to take a little bit of time to spend some time with the girls and got to spend a little time with you guys and let you know some of my tips and my techniques on the stuff that I do. Yep, as you can see, the pans are full of water, but like I said, once again, those will soak back up into the pots within the next 12 hours. So no worries there on that stuff. Alrighty, I think I'll wait until tomorrow or the next day to raise that light up. Yeah, I think that's about it. Everything's looking good, you guys. Everything's all cleaned up real nice. Yep. Alrighty, I guess I'll give you guys another video another time. Thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for being here with me while I do this with the plants. I hope you guys have a good night. Remember, like, share, and subscribe.